Good morning. How's everybody doing? Good. A little louder? Okay. Today we have a particularly interesting class. As you know, we've gone through a number of lectures on skills building, as well as the last time we did a lecture on the financial industry. Well, today we're going to talk about, it's really a combination of an industry as well as some particular skills for you. And the skills we're going to talk about have to do with how you present yourself and how you think about how you describe yourself and your skills and your experiences. That's part of it. The other thing we're going to talk about, or our speakers are going to talk about, is the hospitality industry. Now, anybody can tell me what the hospitality industry is? Well, what?
It involves a lot of jobs.
What about working in hotels? Well, being at the front desk or working in restaurants. This is an industry where there's incredible job growth here in the Sarasota area. So it's just important that you understand it. We have Professor Vickland from the University Sarasota, University of South Florida, Sarasota Manatee, who's going to talk with you. You're going to participate. There's a lot of participation. So you can't hide. And if you look like you're not alert, those are the folks that are going to be called upon. So it's a great opportunity to ask questions and learn a bit more about how to present yourself generally and specifically in the hospitality industry.
Well, thank you for the introduction. So hi, I'm Karen Weisschein. I am part of USF Sarasota Manatee's career and academic advising team. I predominantly work with the junior and senior business students, not only on progressing academically and meeting their goals for their baccalaureate degree, but also in terms of getting them ready for the job market. And we're going to talk today about our process, and we're going to use about 40 minutes of this class to do what I normally spend 3 to 4 semesters with our students. So it is a progressive process, but I'm going to introduce you to the components today, and we're going to be working in some teams together and see what you come up with in terms of thinking about yourself and thinking about what you're doing already today that you can communicate in a job interview. All right, so that's what we're going to spend a big portion of this time on. I didn't come by myself. I brought my colleague, Olivia Savage, with me. She is part of the team that works with the university on community outreach. So she does a lot of marketing what we do at the university to let you all know about what options you have when you come to us. Olivia also spends a lot of time thinking about how she can package up what we as a university can provide in terms of services out to future students like you. So you'll hear more from her a little bit later, particularly when you have questions about what does it take to get into university? Who in the room is already thinking about wanting to go on to university? Okay, good, about 1/3. So you may have some specific questions. I'll also talk a little bit about how you can get creative in finding funds to go to university, because that's always a big obstacle. And it may not be as hard as you think it is to find some of that financial support. All right, so let's start our day today with what we developed at USF. So 2 years ago, the university took a step back and said, we're not doing enough for our students to get ready for the job market. It is no longer enough to provide the academic knowledge and to give you credentials that says, hey, I spent 4 years of my life studying this particular subject profoundly or in depth. You know, the job market has changed. Employers are getting increasingly picky about who they want to come and work for them. So the university took a step back, gathered some of the business professors around and said, okay, what is it that students need to be successful to enter the job market? So obviously, if they're a university student, we want them to graduate with their baccalaureate degree. We want to offer good majors, you know, majors that have good employment opportunities associated with them. But we also said, you know, there are these soft skills, things that an employer is looking for that makes you a different person than your competition and gives you the opportunity to differentiate yourself. So we are looking to help our students gain experiences, work on their skills, and I'm going to ask you to think about what we mean by skills versus mindset, and we're going to have an exercise based on that. And you're going to be spending some time in teams. So how many do we have in this room? This is probably the biggest group so far. Who can do a quick count? We're going to break you up into 6 groups. I have 6 key words, as you can see. Okay, 21 divided by 6. Where are my math whizzes? 3 people would make 18. 4 people to a team. One group will have 4, the other group will have 3. Okay, so start already thinking about who you want to be working with in a team. As we just heard, there will be 1 foursome and the rest will be teams of 3. Each of you is going to get one of these keywords, and I want the team to spend about 5 minutes thinking, analyzing, doing word association, defining what is it that you come up with when you think about mindset. Or if you end up getting the word experiences, what would you classify as an experience as compared to a skill or knowledge, okay? And then we're going to take the input that you came up with. Olivia is going to help me get that on the board, and then we're going to show you how you can use that combination of those 6 areas to start talking about yourself in a very professional way in front of an employer. Sounds good? All right, so separate yourself into groups, and I will come around and give you your keyword. Okay then. Well, here's already a natural threesome. So your word is going to be credentials. So are you going to move over here, or you're staying with your friend here? Okay, so you will have knowledge. Then the 3 of you, yeah, you're already natural 3. You're moving because there's 1, 2, 3 right here. All right, so where's my foursome? Is it 1 row? Well, by default, you're 1 row of 4 right here. Those 4. Okay, so 2 and 2. 2 and 2. 3 here. And you're 3. Okay. All right, so you have your keyword. We're going to take 5 minutes for you to kind of do a deep dive into that word. think about what you associate with that word, what comes to mind when you think about that word, and we're going to go around and kind of help you come up with some ideas. All right, so how did we do? Yeah, you really had to think about things? You got a few good things. Okay, so the question, well, it really was more of a comment from this side of the classroom. This was hard. Why was it hard? Because you suddenly had to think about, knowledge is not just one thing. It could also be, like thinking about the difference between a skill and an experience, right? An experience is more something that you analyze. A skill is something that you can demonstrate, right? Because you have a skill in being the fastest person in a restaurant, for instance. So that's a skill versus an experience might be, ooh, I had a really tough customer. They had no idea what they wanted to order, and I had patience, and I helped them order the right food, and they loved what they ordered. So, I mean, very hard to differentiate, but I'm going to show you why it's important to understand these differences. So, Olivia, let's see what we've got from our teams here. So why do employers want to know these things? So if I'm going to hire somebody, what's like the most important thing that I should focus on? Any idea? Skills? Communication skills. Okay, so let's focus on skills. Who had skills? You guys had the word skills, right? So we were thinking about, okay, if I'm applying to a restaurant, what kind of skills do you need? So do you want to share a little bit what your team came up with?
How to handle the money.
How to handle money.
Good memory.
Have a good memory because you're working in a restaurant and you need to go back to the chef and tell them what people ordered. Yep.
Be fast.
Be fast.
Be nice with your people.
Ah, very important. If you want a good tip, you have to be nice to people. You can't roll the eyes and go like, oh my gosh, can't she or he decide what type of eggs you want for breakfast, right? What else?
Speak more than one language can be good too.
Speaking more than one language, yes, very good. I think that was the first time we had that insight today. So it's an advantage if you can speak a second language, for sure. Now, how does that differentiate from experiences? Who had the word experience? You did? Okay, so what did your team come up with? Good behavior.
I said good reputation.
Good reputation. Going into the store. So your personal shopping experiences, you want to make sure that your customer has a good experience. Anything else? So this is also a really tough one because it deals with your mindset, or what's another word to think about? Your attitude. Who had the word mindset? Okay, so what was your team?
We put how you do it.
How do you do something?
Resolve a problem.
Problem resolution, okay. How do you prepare yourself for something? Doing research?
How you feel.
How you feel. So positive energy versus always walking in grumpy. Okay. We've got it all? Okay. So then these are all what we call soft skills. Who had knowledge? Okay, and what did you come up with?
Creative thinking.
Creative thinking.
Different skills.
Having different skills.
Learning.
How do you learn?
And good understanding.
Understanding the information. Okay. So when we talk about knowledge, it really means being knowledgeable about a subject. So for instance, if you babysit, you want to be knowledgeable about what babies need. You know, you want to be, you need to know how to change a diaper, right? So that's a good knowledge to have when you're doing a babysitting job, right? So those are kind of the ideas behind knowledge in terms of having a good understanding about a specific subject. And how do we prove that you have a good understanding about a certain subject? We prove it through credentials. Who had the word credential? You guys, okay, did you know what a credential was? No? Do you now know what a credential is? Okay. So what did you come up with?
I put a certificate of what you've done in your life.
Okay, certificate, yes.
Put license.
License, okay. A diploma for sure. Award, good one. And a passport, that's definitely a credential, and that was the first time passport was used this morning too. Good depth to this analysis. And then why are networks important? So who had the word network? Okay, what did you associate with networks?
Resources you use.
Resources that you use, okay.
Websites.
Websites.
Other people that can help you find a job.
Excellent. Other people who can help you find a job. That's it? Okay, cool. Yes, so networks is all about who you know. Who you know who can help you open a door. Who you know who can help you figure out a solution. Mentor you in the job. Sponsor you for a degree, for instance. Whether it's a company or whether it's, you know, many churches have scholarships for their congregational youth. So you really want to pay attention to your network, so it goes a little bit beyond your family and your circle of friends. I want you to start thinking about how do you grow the people you know who can help you get to that next place in your life, in your professional life. Okay, so when we put this all together, it makes a story, and the story is about you. So it's about how you answer questions that an employer may have for you. So I'm going to invite one of you up here who's going to be the employer, and then you're going to pick somebody out of this room who's going to be your potential employee. So who wants to be the boss in this room? Okay, come on up. Now here's a good example of a leadership skill. She picks what she wants to do rather than being picked for something she doesn't want to do, right? You're interviewing someone, and in the job that you have, they have to be really quick on their feet, they have to be really good in their people skills, and they have to be a nice person. But you can't ask, are you a nice person, right, in a job interview. So I want you to start thinking about how you're going to ask the question to get to the answers that you need to have to make a decision that you can hire somebody. And who in the room are you going to interview? Oh boy, everybody's looking down on the floor. They don't want to be it. Pick somebody, or I'll pick somebody for you. Okay, come on up. Your best friend just picked you. All right, so you know the information you're after, so how are you going to ask that question? Just come up with a question. And what you really want to find out is if she's a nice person and she can get along with other people. But you can't, you know, in today's world, you can't just go ahead and say, hey, are you a nice person? And then get a yes or no answer. You want her to talk a little bit about herself. So how do you get her to open up and maybe share some experiences with you? So I'm going to help you out in terms of, you could ask her, so have you ever been in a situation where you had to make a decision, you made a decision, and then you discovered it was the wrong decision? How did you handle that? So she's either going to say, well, I never made a wrong decision, which she's not going to say because we all made wrong decisions, right? So can you come up with an example where you can talk a little bit about you had to make a choice and you made one, and then in the end it wasn't what you wanted, and how you handled or dealt with that? So while she's thinking of that answer, the next two people who are going to come up here, they're going to be dealing with criticism, because in the job market, somebody eventually is going to tell you you did not such a great job. And then you're going to have to like figure out how you're going to handle it. So you can either like pout, you can come up with a way to describe, or you could be mature about it. So I'm going to invite two of you up to talk about how you would answer a question like that. Okay, so how are you two doing? But generally, in a job interview, you're going to come across a lot more credible if you talk about an experience that you actually had. So you could say you picked a course you didn't like. All right, so now for the next time, you're prepared for a good answer, yes? Okay, all right, have a seat. All right, so since you were so mature, come on up. You get to ask the question. Since you already gave some away, come on up. There are two parts to this, because he's got to think about a diplomatic way to say that you didn't do such a great job, and then you need to come up with how are you going to take that input and how you're going to make it better. All right, help him out here. Come on up. You also match color-wise, so that's good too. Look at that. All right, so you saw something in her job that you really didn't care for. You want her to change a little bit. So how would you communicate that to her?
Like say in a nice way.
That would be helpful. So she came late to work multiple times, and you need to really get that point across that she needs to be on time. So how would you, because you like the work she does when she gets there, but you really would like her to be on time. You could say, good morning, it's 11 o'clock, and you really needed to be here.
On time.
And then what are you going to say? She'll try harder, and then she's going to say, well, you said that the last time. What's the problem?
Well, I don't know. I woke up late.
Oh, okay. She's going to make up the time by working later. That's very constructive. You've offered a solution to the problem. And you're also giving him already a heads up. It's probably not going to be the last time, because there's something going on in the morning that prevents you from getting there on time. So maybe you could then come back and say, well, why don't we start your shift at 11, but we'll have you work an hour longer, and that way you get your hours in and you don't have to struggle. See how it was like a little give and take? All right, thanks for being up here. All right, so what this is intended to do is to help you see how these different areas really come together when you talk about yourself. And why is that important? So one of the fields you were interested in to learn more about was the hospitality industry here. So the previous 3 classes, they had a really hard time defining hospitality industry. So that has to do with, think of yourself of being a host. When you're hosting someone, a visitor to your home, what do you have to provide? Food, something to drink, maybe clothes if they didn't bring comfort. Yep. A bed to sleep. Okay, so these are all elements that make up the hospitality industry. Restaurants, hotels, information, yes? So Visit Sarasota, big organization here. They do nothing else but talk about the tourism and hospitality industry. Transportation, how do you get to this beautiful area here in Sarasota? You can ride a bike, you can rent bikes, so rental places that rent bikes, boats, dirt bikes, yep, all-terrain vehicles. That gets more into a hobby, so if you have a sport interest, you play golf, skateboard, you go to skateboard theme parks. You said horseback riding on the beach, that's a fun. Well, there you go. You also talked about clothes, cleaning, room service, tour guide, in the kitchen staff, yep, carrying the luggage,
The one who parked the car.
parking the car, the valet parking, that's a service for the hospitality industry. Desk, front desk, checking people in. The maitre d', the person, the host, waitressing, yep.
Manager.
The manager, excellent. So you can tell by the different jobs that you brought forward, they take different experiences, different skills, and require different credentials. So, you know, if you're quick on your feet, you're good with people and good with money, you probably would do great as, you know, in the restaurant, in the waiting staff, maybe in the bar area. But do you need like a college degree for something like that? No. So you could do that. You could do that coming straight out of high school. Now, if you want to go into management, like the two people here in front said, you're going to need some credentials. So this is where your bachelor degree will come in really handy, either in business or hospitality, or maybe you want to be a fabulous chef, cook, and go to culinary school. Those are all institutions where you earn credentials. But can you just leave university and then find that amazing management job? What else do you need to bring to the table? Experience. Excellent. So while you're going to school, you want to be working already in the field so that you can build some experience that you can talk about when you're in these interviews and they ask you, well, what have you done so far? And this, you know, last but not least, I mean, this is where you then, you know, not everybody has 2 or 3 years experience running a hotel. So this is where you can start thinking about what are you doing for your hobbies, your private time, where you can pull some experiences and some skill sets into the conversation. The question was, does that deal then with hobbies where I can get my leadership skills? So already what you're doing right now builds leadership skills. If you're in a soccer team and you're the team captain, for sure that's a leadership skill that you can talk about. Anything you do right now helps to have a conversation about who you are and why you're going to be good in this job. Any other questions? How are we doing on time? Oh, it's about to ring. Okay, then.
Let's thank our guests.
Thank you.
Bye.